So, we're back again. The tricky one, Latin cross. Now, this is one that I think is incredibly important in Latin. It's called a Latin cross because it's the only way you should cross in Latin. Okay? It's not a ballroom cross. A ballroom cross is a lockstep. These aren't locksteps. These are Latin cross actions that they will take part of a lockstep when you're dancing, like a cha-cha lock or a samba lock. But they don't always happen on a lock. They will happen in lots of other places as well. Okay? And they need to be correct. This is a real bugbear of a lot of judges and a lot of examiners and a lot of professional teachers. It's a big bugbear of mine as to whether a Latin cross is done properly or not. And it's something that I will pick people up on because I think there's no point dancing Latin if you're not going to dance the technique. There's no point dancing anything if you don't dance the technique properly, but particularly Latin and Latin crosses. They're there for a reason and they should be danced properly. Now, a Latin cross goes all the way down your body. It's not just what your feet are doing, okay? It has to happen from your shoulders down. If it doesn't happen from your shoulders down, you're not going to get the action correctly. Now, that won't state that in the book, okay? It will pretty much just tell you where the foot positions are. So, this is an analysis of a Latin cross with the foot position, right foot crossed behind left foot. I'm going to do it side on so you can see it better. When the right foot is crossed behind the left foot, both knees will be compressed and the hips level. The toe of the right foot will be turned out and the right knee will be tucked behind the left knee. Depending upon the length of the leg from knee to foot and the amount of ankle stretch, the toe of the right foot will be approximately 15 centimetres from the heel of the left foot. So, basically what we're saying is when I'm in a Latin cross position, I'm going to have my right foot turned out and my right knee tucked behind my left knee. Now, both knees will be compressed, so I'm not going to be in a straight knee. Okay? That's where you get that hip action and that pelvic action when you see a Latin cross happen, particularly in samba and cha-cha-cha, when you see a lot of that happening. And depending on the length of the leg, will depend on how far away my foot is from my crossing foot is from my standing foot. Now, if I dance that in face on, so you can see what I'm doing, as I take a forward step here, now this is purely just talking about the foot position, nothing else, just the foot position. So my right foot is going to be crossed with my right knee tucked behind my left knee. My right toe is going to be turned out. I'm going to have a slight flex through both of my knees. And my toe is going to be very high off the floor. And the main thing for me is that when you dance a Latin cross, when you take your next step, you do not do this. The heel does not drop. The footwork is for flat, toe, not ball, toe. So the ball of your foot should not be on the floor. That's a ball, because the ball of my foot is on the floor. If I want the ball, it would say ball. It's a toe. So therefore I have none of my ball on my foot. It's just my toes on the floor. Now it doesn't say ball flat or toe flat, it just says toe. My next step, my front step, as I take this step, will be another ball flat. This one doesn't move. Okay? What shouldn't happen is when we get from here, it shouldn't do that. This back foot should not move. It should be frozen in time, so whatever you do next, the heel doesn't drop. Okay, that's really, really important that you control that back ankle and you don't allow that heel to drop towards the floor. Okay? Now, when you dance a Latin cross, one thing you will not be able to do is get that right foot or left foot, whichever way you're doing it, you won't be able to get it turned out without turning your hips. If I dance this and I dance it with my hips straight, I cannot get that foot completely turned out and I can't get the side of my knee, which is what I want, tucked into the back of my front knee. Okay? It's just not possible. Well, I suppose it is, but it hurts. Okay? And even now, I've started to turn my hips. I have to, because of the way your body is made up. You can't have your feet at a 90-degree angle without something up here moving. Okay, it's just not possible. So, when you take that step forward here, and this isn't really in the book until further through, so I'll explain it here in my own words, it's easy to explain. When I take my foot forward, I've got to get my weight over that foot, and I've got to get that hip through. Okay? So my hip, my knee, and my toe, and my shoulder are all working together. It's the whole side of my foot. It's called a side lead, particularly in ballroom. But even in Latin, it's a side lead. The whole side of my body is going as one. Now that allows me to turn my toe out. If I straighten myself up, see what happens to my foot? I can't do that. It doesn't work. My hip won't work. Okay? I've got to turn myself round to get that cross action in. Okay? Now when I'm in this position, I can get a nice cross action, and then I can keep that foot exactly where it is. As it comes down onto the toe, I can keep it here and move forward into whatever I'm doing next. Okay? If I was doing two Latin crosses one after the other through lock steps, like cha-cha-cha lock steps, continuous, I would move. Now I'm using my left side first. Left foot comes through, as does the knee, the hip, and the shoulder. Okay? Again, side leg, all comes through together. Into the toe, slightly flex knees as you get into that step. Now from this position, I'm going to bring my right side through. Because at the moment, there's no way, if I stay where I am, and I bring my right foot through, there's absolutely no way on this earth am I going to get my left foot crossed behind my right foot without having to move this whole side. So, I've finished here, okay, after my first lock step. Now I've got to bring my right side through. That allows me to get the right foot through. And again, everything moves. Shoulder, hip, knee, ankle and foot. All move together as one to get me into that position. I can now nicely cross my foot behind, start it right on the tip of the toe. As the weight goes onto it, you will drop it down onto the toe itself, because you're not going to be able to do that. We're not ballet dancers, yeah? We don't have points. We do have to bend the toes to put a weight onto them. But then we will come off of that onto the next step without dropping that heel. Now, anybody that's watched the technique closely, you'll notice that I'm not quite doing those right, because at the moment, because I'm doing it face on, I'm not bringing this foot through where it should come. I'm keeping it here so you can see what's happening to my back foot. Anybody that knows how a lock step should work, this comes under the hip. This foot isn't in line with my hip at the moment, but it needs to on my next step. I need to clear away. So this left foot is going to come over there. That allows my right foot to come through. I've not been doing that because I wanted you to see what's happening with the back foot. Okay? But if I was dancing two lock steps, I will do forward, cross, and there. Okay? It doesn't stay on the same line. It can't, because you've crossed. Step, cross. I've moved across the floor. I'm not here anymore. I've moved onto my back foot. I've now got a diagonal line here, and I've got to get onto that foot so that I've got to get under my body. If you're doing lock steps, you will zigzag across the floor. I'll come all the way back to the end of the hall, and I'll show you what I mean. If I'm dancing continuous lock steps, I'm going to come here, I'm going to go there, go there, I'm going to come to the right. Alright, I'm going to go to the left. I have to because I'm crossing, so I'm transferring my weight from one side to another. I've got that diagonal leg, which is great in a lock step. Don't want it once I'm coming through here. I can't do a hip action if I don't move that foot to get under the hip. If my hip is here and my weight is there, I'm never going to get onto that step comfortably and balanced to allow my hips to do what I need to do. Okay, hopefully that makes sense.